grade. So some of you had questions on the quiz. So I asked you guys first to check with friends, see if you could work it out amongst yourselves. But I also understand people still have questions. So I'm going to go over a few of the questions from your quiz, okay? A few of the problems. So I'm going to start off with number 1, okay? Number 1 says 1 8/9 minus 1 2/3, okay? So how I would approach this, you guys can do this one of two ways. You can write it as an improper fraction first, or you can line them up. So I'm going to do it both ways just to refresh your memories. Okay, so again, you guys are allowed to watch this before your test or during your test. It's fine. You can look at the videos for help. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this going down. So I have positive 1 8/9 minus 1 2/3. All right, so if you write this going up and down, that's how it would look like. If you switch it to improper, you would do 1 times 9 is 9 plus 8 is 17 over 9 minus 1 times 3 plus 2 gives me 5/3. So either way, you guys, all right, you can set it up either way. All right, if I'm solving my first problem here using the regrouping method, I'm going to show you. All right, so we're going to look at it like this. So 1 minus 1 is 0. Some of you forgot to bring over the negative on the quiz. Okay, so this is a positive and this is a negative. So when I regroup my fractions here, let me just move this over to the side. Okay, when I regroup my fractions, all right, 3 goes into 9. So I write 9 as my common denominator. Okay, 3 times 3 gives me 9, so 2 times 3 gives me 6. See this negative here? This negative needs to be carried over to my fraction and therefore my numerator. This one's positive, so this is going to be positive. Okay, and this remains 8/9. 9 times 1 gives me 9, so 8 times 1 gives me 8. Okay, now I'm going to write my denominator, and then I just subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. So my answer is 2/9. The biggest problem you guys had was forgetting to bring over the signs. All right, so if I have positive 1 and I take away 1, that gives me 0 for my whole numbers. But now when I subtract my fractions, this negative has to be carried over. This positive gets carried over. So my final answer is 2/9. Okay, if you did this if you changed it to improper, you would do the same thing. The top one would be positive. I think we said, what, 17 over 9? And the bottom one would be negative 5/3. Okay, so again, if you set it up as improper fractions, if that's easier for you, same thing, 9 and 9. This remains positive 17 over 9. All right, 3 times 3 gives me 9, so 5 times 3 gives me 15 negative. So now you're going to write your denominator. 17 minus 15 gives me positive 2. So either way, you guys, we get positive 2/9. You can do it either way for all of these, okay? This is changing it to improper, and this way we're just regrouping. We're first dealing with our whole numbers, then our fractions. This way works every time. You don't have to think too much about it. So I highly recommend doing it this way, but whatever works for you. I also got some requests for number 4. So number 4 says 1 1/2 plus 1 1/3. Okay, so again, I'm going to do it both ways. All right, if I write it going up and down as is, this is positive 1 1/2, positive 1 1/3. Okay, so positive 1 1/2, positive 1 1/3. I'm going to first deal with my whole numbers. So positive 1 and positive 1 gives me positive 2. Okay, and now I'm going to deal with my fractions. So 3 and 2 have a common denominator of 6. 3 times 2 gives me 6, so 1 times 2 gives me 2. 2 times 3 gives me 6. Oops. So 1 times 3 gives me 3. These are both positive. So I keep my denominator and I add my numerators. 3 plus 2 gives me 5. So my answer here is this total, 2 and 5, 6. All right, if I have 2 and I add 5, 6, I get 2 and 5, 6. If you wrote this out improper, as an two improper fractions, you get 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Whoops. So 3 over 2. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4 over 3. Both of these are positive. Okay, so now I just wrote them as an improper fractions, and now I'm just going to solve. I have to have a common denominator. I cannot add these together without a common denominator when I'm adding and subtracting, you guys. So 6 is going to be my common denominator. 3 and 2, right, have 6 as the LCM. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. 2 times 3 here, times 3 times 2, right? So if 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 gives me 8. 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, now I have the same denominator, so I'm going to write my denominator. And again, this is positive 9, positive 8. My signs carry over. 9 and 8 is 17. So this gives me 17 over 6, which I then convert to a mixed number. So 6 goes into 17 twice without going over. So that leaves me at 12. And then to get to 17, I have 5 remaining. So 2 and 5, 6. Either way you do this, you get the same answer. All right, the next problem I'm going to do is number 8 on the quiz. Okay, so this says 2 and 1/11 plus 1 1/2. So again, I'm going to first write this going up and down, and this is like the regrouping method. So 2 and 1/11 plus 1 1/2. Okay, if I write this going up and down again, right, I bring over my positive. If this were minus, this would be a negative. All right, so we carry over the signs for both of these. So positive 2 and positive 1 gives me positive 3. And now I come over here and deal with the fractions. So 11 and 2, right, I have 22 in common as my common denominator. So 11 times 2 gives me 22, so 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 11, 22, 1 times 11, 11. I write my common denominator and I add together those numerators. So 11 plus 2 is 13. So my final answer here, you guys, would be 3 and 13 over 22. That is a 3, believe it or not. Okay, there we go. All right, if you use the improper method, all right, the improper method, I would do 2 times 11 is 22 plus 1 gives me 23 elevenths, positive. Positive, right, 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3 over 2, positive. So then I'm just going to rewrite these. So 11 and 2 have 22 in common. 2 times 11 is 22, so 3 times 11 is 33, positive. 11 times 2 is 22, so 23 times 2 gives me 46, positive. I have the same denominator here, so I keep my denominator and I add together those numerators. I add them because they're both positive. If one of these were negative, you guys say this were negative, it'd be negative and a positive, so you'd have to subtract. But here, you're just using your basic integer rules, okay? So when I add those together, I get 79. Okay, and now I have to convert. So 22 goes into 79 3 times with 13 left over. So 3 and 13, 22nd. Either way, I get the same answer. Okay? Okay, and then lastly, some of you had trouble with number 10. I'm probably going to do 10 and 12 actually. All right, so number 10 says 4 1/2 minus 1 8/9. So again, if I write it going up and down, it would look like this. Okay, using the regrouping method. So 4 1/2 is positive, minus 1 8/9 makes this negative 1 8/9. Okay, so then I just do this to show you. First, I'm going to deal with my whole numbers. So positive 4 minus 1 gives me positive 3. Now I'm going to deal with my fractions. This is positive 1/2, and this is negative 8/9. So when I convert this, I need to carry those signs over, you guys, okay? So 2 does not go into 9, so I skip count 9 to 18. Does 2 go into 18? Yes. So remember, we're skip counting to find the LCD, or using the ladder method. So now I have 18. 2 times 9 is 18, so 1 times 9 gives me 9, and I bring over that positive. 9 times 2 gives me 18, so 8 times 2 gives me 16. Bring over that negative. Okay, so I write 18, common denominator, I write 18. Okay, now I have negative 16 plus 9 gives me negative 7. Here's the problem, you guys. Okay, this is positive 3, and that's negative 7/18. That's not going to work, okay? So I need to take 3 and regroup it. So 3 becomes 2 and 18/18. Okay, now I can take these and subtract. I have something to subtract 7 from. So 18 minus 7, right? If I rewrite it over here, I keep this 2. I'm keeping 2. I'm going to put the answer over here to keep 2, right? What's 18 minus 7? 11. So my answer is 2 and 11/18. Okay, again, if I have 3, positive 3, now I'm taking away 7/18. I have to regroup 3 to 2 and 18/18 so that I have something to subtract from. Okay, if I were to do this improper, this is why the improper method, though, you guys, works every time, because you don't have to worry about these issues. So if I write 4.5 improper, 4 times 2 is 8, and 1 is 9/2. So again, you guys, this is method number 1. Okay, this is going to be method number 2. I prefer method number 2, just because you never have to regroup. It keeps it consistent. So this is positive 9/2. 1 times 9 is 9, plus 8 is 17/9, negative. So positive, negative. Now, I'm going to find a common denominator, which is 18. 2 does not go into 9, so I skip count, and it leads me to 18. Okay? So now 2 times 9 is 18, so 9 times 9 gives me 81. Positive. 9 times 2 is 18, so 17 times 2 gives me 34. Negative. Okay? Common denominator, I write 18. Okay? And then I have positive 81, take away 34. My answer is going to be positive. 81 minus 34 gives me what? Let me do that up here. 81 minus 34, 7, 11 minus 4 is 7, 7 minus 3 is 4, so I get 47/18. Okay, now I just have to switch this, you guys, to a mixed number. So I'm really cramming down here, huh? So 18 goes into 47, how many times? 2. That gives me 36. I have 11 left over, and I put it over 18. So 2 and 11/18. Same answer on both sides. Again, if you do it improper, using the improper method, you'll get the same answer every time. It's a lot easier. Okay? But either way, whatever works for you. So I hope this video was helpful. I don't think I have time. Let me see if I have time to do one more. I do. All right, I'll do one more. Okay, number 12, real quick, last one. It says 1 6/7 minus 1.5. Okay? So I'm just going to automatically do this the improper method. So 1 times 7 is 7, plus 6 gives me 13/7. So this is method number 2 I'm doing, you guys. Minus, so this is positive, minus 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3/2. Okay? Now that I have it set up, I'm just going to convert this. I cannot add and subtract these fractions, you guys, because I don't have the same denominator, so I need to create a common denominator. 2 does not go into 7, so I'm going to skip count 7 to 14. 2 does go into 14, so 14 is my common denominator. 7 times 2 gives me 14, so 13 times 2 gives me 26. Bring over that positive. 2 times 7 gives me 14, so 3 times 7 gives me 21. Bring over that negative number. Okay, now I'm working out of this column here. Again, I just switched. First I switched them to improper, then I converted to a common denominator. Okay, now I write my common denominator as 14. Okay, and then I'm just going to subtract. I have a positive and a negative, so I subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. So 26 is larger than 21, so my answer is going to be positive. If I have positive 26 and take away 21, that leaves me with 5/14. Alright, so again, I encourage you guys to check out this video before you start your test. If you need to look at it during your test, that's fine. Same thing with the other videos, okay? You can look at 5.6 and 5.7 video on the YouTube channel. It says M6. You guys are M6. That's Math 6. And then you'll see Lesson 5.6 and Lesson 5.7 videos, okay? So feel free to look at those. Check this out. Alright, you are allowed to use the videos during your test. Alright? Okay. Praying for you guys. I miss you guys. Hope to see you soon. Alright, bye guys.